Welcome to Ed's Not Dead. I'm Robbie Dodd. I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. C.H. Siddons.
Hey, what's up?
All right.
Good morning, DJ. Hello. Sorry. Anyway.
On the first
I was told that I wasn't excited enough to greet you all.
You did a great job. And Mr. Peter Crable.
Hello. I'm not sure how I can top that, but hey.
Hey, Mr. Krabs. Ed's Not Dead is brought to you by Pulp Education, a full-service educational media company specializing in leadership, instruction, and 21st century school reform. As always, you can find us on Twitter at Ed's Not Dead PC and check out the website and the world famous Equity Sticks article on edsnotdead.com.
Just want to say we're hitting almost 400 to 500 downloads per episode.
Really?
Just saying.
How does that compare historically, Mr. Siddons?
Well, we used to get excited with 100 downloads per episode.
I do. I remember that. I remember the number 100. We would be psyched about
break
that.
The 3 dig.
Another article, or not article, but episode that came up was our interview from a couple seasons ago with Matt Mingle on like the social well-being and emotional well-being of teachers and how to take care of teachers, which is even more prevalent now. So definitely check that out. It's pre-pandemic, but a lot of the things he talks about, he was the superintendent from a small district in New Jersey, a township, I should say.
That's right.
So, yeah, check that one out too.
Is it terrible that I generally have no recollection of the guests that we've had on over five seasons?
Yeah,
I have people that someone came up to
terrible.
me yesterday and they said, "Hey, I listened to your episode about." Oh my goodness, it was something about teachers, and I can't remember what it was, but she mentioned something that we were talking about, and I was like, "Oh, geez, I hope I didn't say anything bad." And she said, "No, you didn't. It was good. It was good." I was like, "Okay, good."
Well, we are going to talk about one former guest tonight on the show that I do remember. That would be one Robert Pondicio, and his work tends to get co-host Mr. Siddons fairly fired up, right?
Well, I scheduled him as a guest initially,
and he was a great guest.
He was, and then
yep.
we did at the end of the show say we should get you back on. And in the preceding months, I since I make the guest invitations, he will not be invited back on.
Well, I was gonna say his piece in Flypaper. Not everyone's on board with turning schooling into therapy. We're going to talk about that tonight. I think that's all the more reason to get him on the show. Wouldn't it be fun to talk to Bobby P about SEL?
Sure.
I'd be interested. I
would too.
Yeah.
All right, fellas, it is good to see you. And we are on the eve of Thanksgiving, I think.
Yes.
So I am thankful to be still doing this show. We haven't gotten canceled. We still have a zillion sponsors and things are going great.
Yay.
All right.
Brought to you by ZipRecruiter.
Let's before we get into Bob Pondicio's work, let's talk a little Thanksgiving here. We're going to go around the room. Mr. Krabs, what is your go-to helping on Thanksgiving? What do you have to have?
It's an easy one for me. It hasn't changed since I was like 8, probably.
All right.
It's a classic: mashed potatoes and gravy.
Oh,
so good.
Okay.
I still put the mashed potatoes on the plate, and then I take my spoon and make a hole in the middle.
You live a little volcano,
and then I make a little lake of gravy.
All right, so let's talk about the gravy lake, because your boy over here is a non-gravy guy.
That is a big mistake.
No,
Robbie Dizzle.
Robbie Dizzle does not like the gravy. I am a salt and pepper guy on the mashed potatoes.
I am Mr. Krabs.
You're down with the gravy. Yeah.
I don't think there's anything more overrated. Hold on. Let me finish.
Oh my God.
Let me finish on the Senate. Let me finish.
Let me finish.
on the Thanksgiving meal than one. No, gravy's the 2 seed. The 1 seed in overrated is cranberry sauce.
No, the 1 seed is
easy.
turkey.
Yeah.
1 seed is
turkey.
Absolutely. I don't eat meat though, so it doesn't matter. But
here's the caveat.
Yeah,
turkey's good with gravy.
Yeah, but most people don't cook it right. It's always overcooked. It's dry. It's gross.
This is true.
It does take a skilled chef to get the turkey right. Okay, all right. So we got mashed potatoes and gravy for PC. Mr. Siddons, what's your go-to?
Stuffing.
Yes.
Not in the. You don't put it in the cavity of the turkey. It's just the regular oven baked stuffing. So good.
Do you ever make stuffing outside of Thanksgiving?
No.
All
right.
Do you?
You should. No, but you should. It's delicious.
Next question. Corn casserole or green bean casserole?
Green bean.
Sarah
makes a wildly delicious green bean casserole.
All right. What do you? That's tough.
I don't even know what I don't even know what corn casserole is.
Oh, corn casserole is money.
It's pretty good.
It's really good.
Yeah,
I've never heard of
corn casserole. Yeah.
What?
Okay, Crable's going with corn casserole. It's a toss up for me. I have to have both. They're delicious.
You know, it's a Siddons staple that you probably never heard of.
What's that?
Rutabagas.
Oh, rutabagas. Yeah, I know what rutabagas are.
Yeah, my dad. It's a Grandma Grace time tested recipe. He makes.
All right. So that was my next question. You totally took it away.
I apologize.
No, it's good. It's good. So in the Crable clan or the Siddons clan, what is the unique offering that is made on Thanksgiving?
I apologize for jumping the gun. It's rutabagas.
It's rutabagas. All right. So that's the tried and true passed down.
I never ate them as a child, but as an adult, I've had them every year and they're amazing.
For us, so we do it now with my wife's family every year, and I think this might have been cut a year or two ago because there was like 50 dishes and it just had to be scaled back. But it was sweet potatoes soaked in some sort of liquor, like a brandy or a whiskey of some sort, some like one of those dark liquors, and cooked. And so they had the outer sugary, kind of gravy on them, and like just the hint of the whatever the alcohol was, but not in an unpleasant
not
way.
too strong, right?
Yeah, those were pretty good, and I'd never had them before, but they were pretty tasty.
All right. Okay, two Thanksgiving meal questions left. You ready? You know where I'm going with this. Dessert.
Ooh.
Apple or pumpkin?
Not even a question. Apple pie.
All right, go.
Apple pie.
Whoa, really?
Yeah.
What?
Not even a question. I won't even have a piece. I won't even eat the pumpkin pie.
So growing up, it was apple pie for me because I didn't like pumpkin. And then my lovely wife made a homemade crust and homemade pumpkin pie. One of our first time she came up, I've been transformed.
You're a pumpkin guy?
Yep. And now we have this bakery near us that makes a baklava crust pumpkin pie.
That's just the way you said that, Mr.
So good.
Say it
so
again.
Good.
Say it again.
Baklava.
I don't even know what that is. What is that?
It's like a Greek flaky pastry dough. It's a lot of butter. It's delicious.
That sounds good.
Something my dad always makes is a pecan pie.
Oh,
yeah.
They say it in Scranton. They call it pecan.
Pecan pie.
Pecan pie.
I was gonna say that way. That the last minute I autocorrected for some reason. Not sure.
What's your specialty, Dizzle?
I'm not really a food guy, and so I just did this. I just did this whole segment. I'm pretty straightforward, and I'm pretty flexible. I would give the number 1 seed to pumpkin pie. I've always been a huge pumpkin pie fan, although Mr. Krabs, Fred Smoot. You remember Fred Smoot? He's one of the funnier former athletes.
Party boat Fred Smoot.
Yeah, party boat Fred Smoot. He went on a rant the other day on the radio about pumpkin pie. He said that pumpkin is the one vegetable that no one ever eats during the year at all. So how can you justify making a pie out of it?
It's a great point he makes.
Yeah, it's a good point. But I love myself some pumpkin pie with whipped cream, and you know my love of coffee. So after dinner, when I do the huge slice of pie with the whipped cream and my coffee, I am basically, it's like I did a Quaalude. I'm incoherent after that. After the MSG or whatever's in the turkey, I'm out. So, all right, last thing. Drink of choice. This is a kid-friendly show. It's Ed's Not Dead. But your drink of choice as you're eating the meal. And CH Siddons, if you say water, you're like a millennial. You're banned.
Oh man.
Probably just a little bit of red wine, I would say.
Okay.
A nice Chianti. Yeah, nothing crazy. Yeah, just
I get Casey with your Scranton roots. I see a beer. I see
It's
some
a beer.
kind of it's a beer.
It's a beer.
It's an IPA, maybe some nice.
No, I'm not a big fan of IPA. It's like a pale ale.
A pale ale. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I'll probably have a Celebration.
I don't. Is that a brand?
It's a Sierra Nevada.
Sierra Nevada.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So heady, bro.
It's my dad's favorite right now, so you'll probably have a lot of those.
The teetotaler over here has no knowledge of what you're talking about.
You have Coca-Cola.
I like iced tea during my Thanksgiving meal. That I know it's kind of a summer thing, but that's
you were drinking iced tea right before we started, weren't you?
Yeah, I'm a big tea guy, so yeah. I can't say it's exclusive to Thanksgiving. It's basically all the time. That and coffee. All right, so we hope everyone.
I think it's going to come. I don't know when.
Awkward transition.
Yeah. It'll be after Thanksgiving. Hope you have a good one. Had a good one.
It's good.
No, Crable, you got it.
All right, we'll get it out on. All right, we'll get it out on Wednesday.
Okay, because we're doing a fast, short show tonight, so you're not going to have to do much editing.
All right, marathon intro, but then a fast show. Got it.
All right, so let's get into this piece.
Hold on, no. Before we do one thing.
Okay.
Jeez. So our friend over there at the top there, Mr. Casey Siddons, was recently quoted in an article. Mr. Big Time Guy over there, Liz Willen, editor-in-chief of the Hechinger Report, very influential news reporting organization on education.
It's true.
Interviewed both Casey and I.
It's true,
but only deigned one of our quotes to be quote-worthy. So Casey, what the title of the article and what did you have to say?
Well, I must have said, Crable, you're a lot more smarter than I am. So you've probably said a lot of big words.
Okay, can I ask a question? Why was it? I was not. Was you? Did you all just like?
Oh,
you just left me out.
Were you not?
You didn't get the call. I
No,
told them.
I definitely said.
Yeah.
Oh,
I told Crable and I both talked, and we were like, we should definitely tell.
That's weird.
Her to talk to Robbie.
So let's provide some context. So what was this? Who reached out to who, and how was this scheduled, and how was I left out?
Well,
it is. I guess fair play because Crable and I left you out of a Johns Hopkins.
I know. I was literally photoshopped out of a photo, like on the front page.
All right, so I guess I had it coming, but I want to know more. Tell me more.
So it's an article about basically what do middle schoolers want. And the gist of the article
you guys don't know jack about middle school.
They want a welcoming, safe place to learn. That's the byline, right? And so she had a lot of good questions. She asked, what's basically happening in your school? What are you doing to help support kids? And what are some of the challenges that you're seeing? Obviously some schools are having more challenges than others. And it was a good conversation. I didn't get a huge quote, but it was basically like highlighting one of the cool things that we're doing, which is having mindfulness sessions for kids in the morning. And the fact that our staff is I think our staff's going above and beyond to make sure that emotional support is there for kids. So,
that's why the Pondisio is a trigger.
Yes.
because of the mindfulness sessions. It's all
he gets
coming
quoted and freaks out when somebody goes against it.
Well, that's good, Mr. Siddons. Good job.
Yeah, it was a good quote. Check it out. Well, Casey retweeted. I don't know if Ed's not dead. Do we retweet it or anything?
I commented at one point being like, hey, while you're here, retweeting this 1,000 times by AMLE.
Is this the same? Is this the same writer that? Sorry to cut you off. Is this the same writer that used the quote from me that large school systems have a way of what was my quote? I
don't think she did.
Individuals
destroying initiatives.
I don't think she did.
Is it the same person?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, because that was the one that was on Project Success and that was in the Hechinger report.
Yeah, different reporter. Yeah.
Different reporter. Got it.
Okay. We got connected through Phyllis Fagel, who's connected with Liz in another capacity, and it was good.
Good old Phyllis. She's a connector.
She's awesome.
She is. All right. Well, good job, Mr. Siddons. Check it out. Tweet it.
I will.
At Ed's Not Dead PC. Come on. I want to see it since I was completely left out in the cold. I guess I have no claim anymore, right, to middle school.
Yeah, I don't think so.
It's very 2015. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
All right.
Article.
What'd you say?
Your time has passed.
My time has passed. Oh,
with middle school.
That's bold.
I'm messing.
I know you are. All right. So speaking of mindfulness, and now, Mr. Siddons, as we get into this piece,
I know you're good. Do you have the talking piece?
I would like you. I'm going to hand you the talking piece through the Zoom screen, and you are going to model or at least practice some of the strategies and techniques that you are using with your students.
Great.
Because I have a sense that this might be a trigger. All right.
That's great. All
right.
You're being a little patronizing, but it's okay. But that's you do you. You do you.
You know what? It's funny. I didn't even realize I was being patronizing.
I know that's usually the case.
It comes so naturally.
It's so natural.
Not everyone's on board with turning schooling into therapy. So our friend of the pod, friend of Ed's Not Dead, Robert Pondisio, has this piece in, what is this, flypaper? Oh no, it's the Thomas B. Fordham Institute. Is it their blog? It's a blog.
Yes, and it's linked to a further, more in-depth white paper, which is mostly could be used for wiping down tables.
All right. So aside from the longer piece, he starts off by setting the stage that SEL has been a part of education since the time of Plato. But then, of course, he includes a but. And the point of his piece is that SEL has been promoted by its enthusiasts as intertwined, even inseparable from the academic mission of school. But it actually risks heralding a significantly different vision for public education, one that blithely declares settled a century-old debate between traditional and progressive, or quote unquote whole child approaches to schooling. So he sets the stage that this is really, again, he puts it firmly in the educational culture wars, in my mind, in that line. Traditional versus progressive. And so he lumps this into the progressive camp, and then goes on to talk more extensively about some of the risks involved with it. He talks about parent ambivalence, if not outright hostility, and says the parents are uncomfortable with it and should focus on academics and leave social emotional learning to parents and others. And then he says the another great danger is the potential to stigmatize children from disadvantaged subgroups whom teachers may be encouraged to see as trauma victims. Because if you didn't know, Bob Pondisio will tell you that he taught in the inner city and he knows just what students in urban areas need, right? And then he basically talks about teachers who did not get into the field to focus on SEL. They got into the field to teach content, to be teachers of content, and that they are unprepared for this kind of endeavor and may, in fact, unintentionally hurt kids in the process, being expected to do something that they're not prepared to do. So it's pretty clear that Robert Pondicio is not a fan of SEL. And
What tells you that?
He thinks that it's the latest scourge. Before I ask you guys where you are on this, what was the piece that we talked about that one time that was similar to this that he thought was a scourge? Remember? It was another. I mean,
he writes a lot about CRT and things like that, which is
maybe it was CRT. Anyway, all right. SEL, does it have a place? And I'm zooming out, and I know Crable's going to bring it tighter for us, but does it have a place in public ed?
I think if Mr. Pondicio knew what SEL was, and if you've walked into a school, let's just say middle school, that's where I'm at. If you've walked into a middle school in the last 15 years and you've actually experienced the life of a teacher, you would know that it has a place in schools. You would have a better understanding of what actual SEL is in action in a school.
What is it? What is it? No, I don't want to cut you off, but what is it? I'm being honest. Yeah, define it. How do you define it, and also give us some examples of what it is and should be?
I see it as helping students focus on managing themselves, managing their emotions, their decisions, making appropriate decisions, supporting the relationships that they have interpersonally with other students, supporting their relationships with teachers, fellow and staff members, and just being more socially aware in their day-to-day lives.
So you don't see it as therapy per se?
It has literally nothing to do with therapy.
Okay. All right.
Is it a class, or does it happen organically?
That's a good question. Yeah, I think for schools that have an advisory period or homeroom period, it can be something that teachers can facilitate and support in those specific advisory classes. But it's also something that I've done myself as a classroom teacher, where it's embedded in your instruction and the questions you're asking and the support that you're providing kids.
So I was going to ask you, when you taught Project Success, you and the great rising star, once upon a time, Ginger Berry, had a daily routine that you followed.
We had a daily routine, but we also we specifically embedded tenets of SEL. No, I don't know if we knew it at the time necessarily. I don't know that we were deliberately looking out for resources, but we knew that we had to spend half the day with each other. We had to do things that were different than the secondary environment, that were going to help students and staff, us, support the relationships in the classroom, help students manage their time and the structures that we have in place, and be able to work well together. And the data shows that it was effective.
Oh yeah. Your data was top notch there, Mr. Siddons.
So
yeah. And you had climate data that supported it too, not just academic data, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you had both, because you surveyed the kids, and I surveyed the kids. About their perceptions of the classroom environment. You'll recall that was a survey that we provided, and there were several very SEL oriented questions in that survey, and they were very positive. The results were. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry, Mr. Crabes.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I was going to say was, I think like many things in education, and maybe even more so with, I don't even know if this is a progressive idea, but I'll go ahead and just label it a progressive idea. It can be unclear exactly what it is, and it becomes a catch-all phrase for everything without being what it is. And so, although like a lot of what is discussed in the article, I think is drawing conclusions that are erroneous and are like a step too far. I mean, I think one line in particular that stuck out to me was, what is SEL and what are we pushing without a full and appropriate discussion of its priorities, role, and methods? And I think that's a valid point. I think a discussion on what it is, a universal definition of what it is, why it's helpful, and like kind of what it looks like in the classroom is a valid point and should be happening. My fear is that it's a class and it's like, hey, we're doing SEL, or it's SEL Friday. Let's do SEL Friday. And nobody really knows what that is. And, there's maybe you purchase a curriculum or maybe somebody's making lessons or whatever, but there's no overarching plan or purpose per se, I guess. And the reason I asked if it's a class was just for that reason, because I do think there's a place for all those things that you mentioned. Helping kids learn to navigate societal structures, school structures, kid-to-kid relationships, kid-to-adult relationships, all that I think is valid and important. But to like create a class and be like, this is SEL time or whatever, I don't know. I do have questions about that and its validity, because I do think that it does risk the chance of becoming therapeutic. It basically becomes like a group therapy session. No, it doesn't become that, but it's closer to that than everything else that Casey described. And so I think that we should be having a discussion about it and whether and what it is, and people should be able to like opt in or out based on the priorities of the school and the school district, and the needs and the wants of the community.
I disagree with that. I think I don't think we can allow for families and kids to opt out of something as fundamental as helping kids navigate the spaces that we have them operate with other kids.
30 years ago, before this was, I just made up a number, before there was the label of SEL, the things that you're describing happening, were they happening in schools?
I don't know.
I mean, I think they were. I think teachers have always played an integral role in forming relationships with kids and mentoring them informally, formally, tutoring, like whatever, in many different roles. Teachers play incredibly important roles in the lives of kids and parts in the lives of kids. So I think none of that, like regardless of whether you call it social emotional learning or not, I think all that stuff continues to happen. And I'm not talking about like individuals opting in or out. I guess I'm referring to more of like a programmatic, pillar of education being social emotional learning, and just having a conversation about that.
I'm with you, Peter. I get confused about SEL and kind of its current state as a catch-all, because sometimes I ask the question to myself. I suspect this is the intent of SEL really to improve the culture and climate of a school, student behavior, discipline, those kinds of things? Or is it intended to help individual students grapple with, for example, early adolescence, which you two are focused on as middle school leaders? I mean, sometimes I think SEL is used as a way to say we've got students that are not behaving, frankly. So we maybe buy a curriculum, like you said, Mr. Crabels, like a second step, and try to teach kids how to interact with one another, how to build relationships, how to interact with adults, and that to me, I'm not a huge fan of that.
But I think that misconstrues what SEL actually is when you mention second step, that's like alternative placement strategies for teaching kids how to behave in a way that's not reflective of SEL, from the best that I can understand. But but it
is used as an SEL. It falls under the SEL banner, and it's sold as an SEL approach.
I'm Googling, I don't know that, but I would just to to zoom out a little bit, if we think that schools are meant to only teach content, then we're going to disagree on this. But
that's extreme thinking. That's not what Mr. Crable said.
Well, if I may continue, if you look at the evaluation systems from like the national boards and other things like that, what are teachers expected to do, and what are they evaluated by? If you look at standard one for the school system in which we work, standard one, teachers are committed to students and their learning. Criteria F, the teacher extends their mission beyond the academic growth of students. That's number one. And if you go and you look at the National Board for Teaching Standards, which is something that I did myself as a teacher, teachers know their mission transcends the cognitive development of their students. So it's not just whether it's a canned curriculum that you want to criticize, that's fine. I'm certainly not advocating for an 8th period, a 9th period that would be social emotional learning. But I think you can't have effective classroom instruction without students who know how to work with each other and have an awareness of how other people work and how the teacher works in orchestrating group work. You can't have effective instruction if students don't know how to manage the decision-making and manage their time and manage the way in which they interact with other kids in the class. It just doesn't happen that way.
But they do know how to do those things when they get to you. 98% of kids know how to do those things when they get to you. It's not like they're blank slates when they're walking into middle school. They've done all of those things in many instances all through elementary school. So I'm not, you keep saying that if they don't know how, well, they do know, they do already have a lot of those. I don't mean to say
that they don't know how to. I'm not suggesting that they're blank slates, and I think that's kind of silly for you to assume that I'm saying that. I'm not trying to posit that they're blank slates coming into 7th grade, saying that they don't know anything. Come on, you know me long enough that that's not something that I'm positing.
Well, you just said they need to learn how to interact with each other.
Well, it's a fostering of how teachers do different things. We have students go from 7 different classes. They're not all teaching the same. We have to help them learn how to navigate in different learning environments and learn with and work with different adults.
Yeah.
What about the role of parents? I mean,
that's out of our control. We can't control what parents do or don't do.
So then we make the assumption that something that maybe historically a parental role, we need to do it.
We make the assumption that students need to learn physical education and health and family life. We make the assumption that they need to learn certain things in English class and certain classic novels, and we make the assumption all the time. Assumptions.
But is there any limit to those assumptions that we make? I guess I'm getting to what is the purpose, and I think Pondicio is asking this, aside from his dumb progressive versus traditional dichotomy, that what is the purpose of schooling? And I think to Crable's point, there is a question about whether this really fits.
If I can, there's an organization called CASEL, which is the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning. And they're an organization that has a lot of really great resources for what SEL actually is. And I pulled one up that I wanted to share with you about. One of the pieces that is like in a classroom environment is about self-management, right? And I just want to read a couple things that they talk about in the abilities to manage one's emotions, thoughts, and behaviors effectively in different situations and to achieve goals and aspirations, such as identifying and using stress management strategies, exhibiting self-discipline and self-motivation, setting personal and collective goals, using planning and organizational skills, showing the courage to take initiative. Now, I don't know about you all or the listeners. There's nothing controversial in those particular bullet points about what we are trying to have kids to do. And if you ask me, I've seen that in almost every single classroom that I've observed in my time period observing teachers. Setting goals. And if you look at stress management strategy, something that counselors work with teachers on or students on, what do you do when you're trying to plan out and map out a long-term project and be organized and plan out your attack on writing a long-term essay? Those are all embedded in the curriculum that we're already teaching.
How is goal setting social emotional learning. It's not inherently social or emotional. It's to me, it's an executive skill that doesn't really have anything to do with psychosocial development, in my opinion.
I didn't create Castle. I have no idea. I'm not the executive, and I know you're trying to
but
needle me, and you're trying to pick specific things out that show a chink in the armor. Right?
I'm not anti SEL,
and I'm not buying it.
And listen, no offense to my second step friends. I did not criticize second step. I actually used it as a principle.
I wasn't criticizing.
But you said that I ragged on some canned program. I didn't.
I didn't say you ragged on it.
Okay, whatever. Anyway, I was trying to get at, you were once upon a time a big Fred Jones Tools for Teaching guy.
I still am.
I know you are, and I think all of those things have a place. I do agree with Mr. Krabs, though, that I think there is confusion at the school level and at the system level about what it is and how to do it. And I agree. Listen, I think Pondicio has a lot of nerve to talk about SEL when we're coming out of a pandemic, and it's pretty clear that kids need a lot of support right now.
Yeah.
I think he's pretty gutsy for putting it out there, because at this time, I do think that we should be doing some explicit support of kids in this area.
Can I add an addendum to that? Now that you mention it, is another thing I was looking up is I picked on the topic of relationship skills, and there's pieces of this that, like, I listen to the news, where I check through Twitter and I rage scroll through Twitter and all the things that are happening in our world, and the ways in which we hope that, schools are aspirational places. We hope we teach and have students work with one another in ways in which we hope that they will do in the real world. And the things that for this relationship skills, the things that they could work on them with is demonstrating cultural competency, practicing teamwork and collaborative problem solving, resolving conflicts constructively, resisting negative social pressure, showing leadership in groups. I fail to understand someone like Pondicio's issue with this, other than trying to have a byline that gets clicks and retweets with the right wing and Fox News media crowd, which gives me pain.
I mean, I think there's nothing for me, there's nothing about anything you said, and even prior to this, that like I find inherently like evil about SEL. I think everything that you've said, it's like, yeah, let's do that. And again, I think my questions, not even, I don't have a resistance, but I do have questions, is that it seems to have come about pretty recently, and then it's one of those education ideas that happens every couple of years that is going to solve X problem.
Yeah.
And I think in this case, coming out of the pandemic, SEL is going to help kids. It's going to fix kids. Well, not about fix kids, but it's like the answer. And it's kind of tough to have the answer when, like, most teachers, almost all, like, have never probably thought about a lot of it and explicitly taught it, even more so when you put it as a standalone class or time.
Sure.
So again, my hesitancy about the all-in approach on social emotional learning has more to do with its application as a panacea to solve like the last 2 years and all the, everything that every kid has gone through and every adult has gone through as well. Yeah. I mean, a lot of adults are not in like a better place to help kids navigate these conflicts. They're struggling themselves too. So, again, going back to the original point, it's like, okay, just pump the brakes a little bit, define it better so that everybody's kind of on board. And honestly, as I thought about it, it's like all that stuff would be great in like teacher education programs or in like ongoing professional development programs. Like it's something that you have to build as a skill as a teacher, and more veteran teachers, I think, do that stuff inherently because they know it works. They never called it that. They may not even call it now, but they're building community. They're building relationships. They're teaching kids to be independent and solve conflicts. They're doing all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I guess, again, going back, it's just like, well, again, this conversation should be happening in schools, in school districts, about making sure that they know what it is that they're selling to families and that it's what they want. And that, like, when it comes from the top down, that, the people that are implementing it, teachers, know what it is and how to do it.
What about what kids want? We haven't talked at all about what kids want.
We have not.
Have you talked to a 16 or 17-year-old about what they want and how?
It's funny you mention that because, without mentioning like schools or anything but you talk to kids about how they feel about certain things, initiatives in schools, and it goes to something you've talked about, Dr. Dodd. And I'm going to butcher things that you've said in the past, but basically, like, when you're trying to implement something at scale, how it gets bastardized by, I don't want to say bastardized, maybe it's not a good word, but like at least not implemented with fidelity. Right. And we talk about something like Project Success, that like moving it up to scale, you're going to lose some of the beauty of the original program, the beauty of the original draft. And I don't know. I'd be interested to think what you think about it.
Well, the beauty of the original program was you and Ginger and Kelly Phillips' genius in being as close to the kids as possible. I'm a big believer in the best initiatives in public ed originate closest to kids. And that's why I asked the question about what kids want.
Right.
Because I do think in certain settings, for example, and I'm not, we have to make decisions on behalf of 8-year-olds. I mean, that's what we get paid to do.
Right.
But I do think for 17-year-olds, there's a good discussion to have here because, as David Bowie says, they're quite aware of what they're going through.
Right.
And so, but we don't do that. And some of the stuff that we do at the high school level with kids that like an SEL initiative, they don't love.
Yeah. They think it's patronizing and they think it's
right.
And I say the piece about moving to something to scale because we have this idea
that's
of how
where you lose it.
Something you lose it there.
Yeah.
But but that there are teachers in a high school who would get a lesson and they would teach it with fidelity and the kids would get a lot out of it because they have positive relationships with it and they're in it, they're buying in, it's good. And then you have someone who just reads the slides and just goes through it. Right.
Absolutely. No argument here. I'm with you. All right. Casey, you've got to get Robert Pondisi on the show.
I'll send it to the co-scheduler, whoever that is.
Come on. He would love to come back on E&D.
Yeah,
I know he would. All right. So the piece is, what's it called again, Mr. Krabs? Not everyone's on board with turning schooling into therapy. And you can check it out at the Thomas B. Fordham Institute, Advancing Educational Excellence, which
that's what they say.
We might disagree with. All right. When we come back, we've got a quiz, and then we are going to wrap things up for this episode of Ed's Not Dead. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Ed's Not Dead. I'm Robbie Dodd. I'm still joined by my illustrious co-hosts, C.H. Siddons and Mr. Crable.
Hey.
As always, Ed's Not Dead is brought to you by Pulp Education, a full-service educational media company specializing in leadership, instruction, and 21st century school reform. As the show slips by, we are that much closer to a Thanksgiving holiday. All right, we talked about food. Tell me you guys aren't.
I'm thinking about it now. I hadn't
so
been thinking about it, but I am now. Big time.
I don't think I've ever looked forward to. I'm just and then kudos to our school system. For the first time in my 28 years, we have the Wednesday off, which is it's a game changer. Tell me it's not a game changer.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. All right. It is that time of the show. It is
quiz time. Play the music. All right, go. You know, it's interesting, Mr. Crable, a colleague of mine, who's a wonderful teacher, wonderful leader. He was listening to the pod and he thought that your name actually was Crabes. Because we say it so much.
Yeah, that's funny.
That is pretty.
Mr. Crabes.
Do you I'm just now gotta get it. That's making me laugh. Mr. Crabes. Mr. Krabs. Do a Mr. Krabs. Do a Mr. Krabs.
SpongeBob.
So there was something I was going to say about that.
I have a quiz for you all. Are you
okay,
ready?
all right. Yes, let's go.
All right.
Come on, let's wrap.
So last quiz you tied after a ridiculous amount of bonus questions.
No, I thought I won in the bonus round.
No, it was a tie.
Okay.
Yeah, that was like there was like 10 bonus questions.
Producers, can we check the tapes? Hold on.
Yeah, we're gonna look. Oh, it was me.
Oh,
yeah.
it was.
Yeah, it was. I just checked.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just kidding. It was a tie. So anyway, Crable, you're up for the first set of 3 questions. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
It's multiple choice, and this time you only have 3 choices.
Okay.
Number 1, Wisconsin Governor blank called for peace on the streets after the jury in the trial of Kyle Rittenhouse found him not guilty on all charges. A, Kevin Stitt. B, Tony Evers. C, Tim Waltz.
In all honesty, I thought it was still Scott Walker, so I'm probably
he's
late on that.
Oh my god!
And I see the distractor in there. Stitt is Oklahoma.
Oh, thank you.
Look at that.
That's the one that I was going to say. That one. I was like, that sounds familiar.
That was your lifeline.
What were the other 2?
Tony Evers, and C, Tim Waltz.
Let's go with that guy.
Tim Waltz is incorrect. It's Tony Evers or Evers, whatever his name is. And number 2, Interior Secretary Deb Haaland moved to ban the word blank from all federal lands, ordering that replacement names be selected for sites that use the word. Is it A, Redskin, B, Pow Pow, or C, Squaw?
I'm going to go with Squaw.
That is correct, Mr. Crabes. Well done.
Yeah.
Boo.
I had to look into it. Number 3, the House of Representatives passed the $1.75 trillion Build Back Better Act, even after House Minority Leader blank delayed the vote with an 8-hour-long speech. Is it A, Kevin McCarthy, B,
yes, Kevin McCarthy,
Mitch McConnell?
That was an easy one.
All right, it was correct. Kevin McCarthy.
This
2 out of 3.
This is rigged.
That first one was tough. Okay,
that was a tough one.
Who knows the governor of Wisconsin?
Hey, by the way, I was on. I had a cameo in the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee musical on Friday night.
Did you?
In front of 750 people. And let me tell you, fellas.
Is it nerve-wracking?
Your boy was sitting up on the stage and my hands were literally soaking wet. I was so nervous.
What was your cameo?
I had to spell the word orange.
Did you spell it?
And then I had to spell the word Gardyloo.
Oh, I never heard of that.
Gardyloo.
And
as long
then
as you
I
just spell potatoes.
And then I got kicked off. But I made it the longest of the cameo contestants.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, so it was
Were your armpits like faucets or
it was so awful. Now I know. I have such respect for not only the artistry of student performers, but their courage. It is when you're up on the big stage in a big auditorium and you look out, it's woo. I know why people freeze up. All right, what do you got? Give me the 3.
All right, Dr. Dodd.
Did Crable go 3 for 3?
2 out of 3.
Okay,
and as Meatloaf
I
once
left
said,
you some breathing room.
And as Meatloaf once said,
2 out of 3 and burn.
That's right. All right, number 1.
That was pretty good. Crabes, how'd you pull that?
Sometimes lightning strikes. I don't know.
That's really never find a diamond ring in the bottom of a Cracker Jack box. That's from that song.
Oh, okay. Number 1. Protests across the continent of blank over new COVID restrictions turned violent over the weekend. Is it A, Asia, B, Africa, or C, Europe?
Africa.
Incorrect. It's actually Europe. If you, it's getting kind of crazy out there. Number 2, a judge exonerated 2 men who have been falsely convicted for the 1965 assassination of Black rights leader blank.
Malcolm X.
New evidence was uncovered.
Malcolm X.
That is correct. Malcolm X. Number 3, more than 500 people were hospitalized for blank bites in Egypt due to storms and flooding that forced the arachnids out into streets and homes. Is it A, tarantula, B, black widow spider, or C, scorpion?
I'm going to kill this one. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Let's hear
You better know this one, Bug Boy.
Bug Boy.
Okay. I don't know how I got that label. Maybe lizard
boy.
Boy.
Lizard Boy. Sorry.
Lizard
that would be C, scorpions.
That's correct. Why were you so excited to answer that?
Yeah, he gets Kevin McCarthy and I get arachnids.
Well, see, look at that.
All
Try
right.
to spread the wealth out. Now it's tied again.
All right, let's do a bonus round.
Oh my God. All right. So Crable, you get the first one, and then Dad, you get the second one. You ready? Or do you want to flip it? You want to flip it?
No. Stay like it is.
All right.
Like
number 9. Well, not number 9, but number 9 overall. Anyway. All right. Crable, your bonus one. The high school football team at the California School for Blank completed its season undefeated and won its division championship for the first time ever. Is it A, the California School for A, the deaf, B, the blind, or C, indigenous youth?
Oh, that's a hard one.
Yeah,
I think I know it though.
I'm gonna go with A, the California School for the Deaf.
A is correct.
Oh, God, I knew that.
Nice.
All right. That's Crable +1.
Congratulations.
Right.
Congratulations to them.
So
Dr.
loud
Dodd.
when you type, Casey.
Sorry, Dr. Dodd. This one's for you. A self-portrait by renowned female artist blank sold for a record $34 million.
Okay.
This is
You know
Robbie's
what?
specialty.
At auction.
You're okay. I know
All
how
right.
this is going. Go ahead.
Sold for a record $34 million at auction. Is it A, Georgia O'Keeffe, B, Mary Cassatt, or C, Frida Kahlo?
Good luck
Well,
with that one.
I know it's not Georgia O'Keeffe. Read the question again one more time.
A self-portrait by renowned female artist blank sold for a record $34 million at auction.
Okay, you're making it sound like the artist is alive.
I did not say that.
Okay, all right.
And it's not in the question at all. So
give me the names again. Georgia O'Keeffe,
Mary Cassatt, or C, Frida Kahlo.
Just pick one, man. As good a choice as any.
I feel a lot of pressure here. What's the score of the Giants game right now, Mr. Gregg?
17-10 Buccaneers.
Oh my goodness! Oh, who's winning the match? Pop.
Good. We need the Bucks to win that, Mr. Gregg.
It's in the first period.
Okay.
Hey,
I'm going A, Georgia O'Keeffe.
incorrect. It's Frida Kahlo.
See, I would have guessed that
Kahlo.
just because Casey's daughter is named Frida.
See, Crable knew. Anyway, so that means that Crable is +1 on that one and wins this round.
I get to keep the trophy at my house for 2 weeks.
You get to keep the trophy that everybody gets.
All right. That was I got harder questions. We know that. Congratulations, Mr. Krabs.
Well done.
All right. As always, Ed's Not Dead is brought to you by Pulp Education, a full-service educational media company specializing in leadership instruction and 21st century school reform. Check out the pod and all things pod at the website, edsnotdead.com, and follow Casey or Peter at Ed's Not Dead PC, because I have nothing to do with the Twitter account. And Mr. Siddons, one last time, give us that piece that you were in the Heckinger Report. How can people find it?
Yes, if you go to Heckinger Report and you search for Siddons, I'm sure it'll tell you. If you Google both those things, my name will probably come up.
Oh, nice. You're getting to be pretty chummy with it. That's a good relationship.
She's a good writer. I think they have a good publication there, if you ask me.
Good. And thanks to friend of the pod, Phyllis Fagel, for hooking you up.
I agree.
All right. In the spirit, fellas, of Thanksgiving, this is I've lost track. Season 5.
5.
I cannot believe it. Season 5. Doing the show for our listeners. I hope it feels as easy and comfortable and fun to listen to us as I have doing the show with you guys. I am eternally grateful that we've gotten to do this together over the years.
I agree. I agree. Are we at the section of the pod where we're doing take backs, apologies, and compliments? Because this is it.
All right, let's do it real quick. We got to run through it fast though.
Oh, I think you just did it. I agree. No, I agree with every word you said. I think it's
what would that have constituted? An apology?
No, that's a compliment. We intended to bring in a conversation that we had by ourselves that was fruitful and fun and cool and engaging about education, and something that is usually or can be pretty boring if you listen to the other podcasts out there. So nice. I appreciate you guys for doing this every few weeks, and I appreciate our listeners for sticking with us and joining the conversation.
Yeah, they have stuck with us. Now the funnest part of the show, the Crable has to emote. Let's see if he can do it. It's going to be a challenge, Mr. Sid.
I feel hungry.
That's single tear.
Come on, Dr. Spock. Give us give us something warm and fuzzy. Come on.
What am I supposed to add? You guys already said all the feels. Yes, no, I'm very grateful.
Look how uncomfortable
it is. So uncomfortable.
I'm very grateful. Yes, for the two of you, and that we get to do this and every other week or however often we do it. And again, I think if nobody was listening, we would probably still do it.
I think we would.
True.
We would.
But it makes it all the better. Just that people do listen, and occasionally around town you'll get somebody that remarks on an episode or something, or so it's very rewarding to feel like, oh, you're doing something, or you wrote something or said something that people listened to that was meaningful. So, thanks to everybody that's listening, because it makes it even more worthwhile.
It's true.
Well said. That's an apology on Mr. Crable's ability to emote.
A colleague of mine tuned in, another colleague of mine, and she said, I listened to your podcast, but I didn't get through much of it right away because you were just talking about things to start the show. But I liked it. It was good.
I think the talking section's gotten bigger and bigger. Every week it's growing.
Are we getting negative feedback on that part of the show?
No, that was positive.
Okay.
She was like, I didn't have time in my commute to listen to the whole episode, but I'm going to.
Right. Well, we balance it out with a highly intense Robert Pundicia discussion. So there's that. All right. Thanks for listening. As Mr. Crabe said, we appreciate the years of dedication to Ed's Not Dead. Spread the word about the show as always. And this will be out by Thanksgiving. So listen to the episode while you are kicking back and watching football or getting some well-deserved time off. For Casey and Peter, happy Thanksgiving. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next time. See you, fellas.